The final Tech Talk of the 2018 IAEM Annual Conference here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We are really excited to hear about a cool new project that's come out, and we've got Carrie Stover here to tell us all about it. It's pretty fun. So, last Tech Talk of the year. Carrie, take it away.
Thank you. I am honored to be the last Tech Talk of the conference here. My name is Carrie Stover. I am with the National Academy of Sciences Lab X program, here to talk about the Extreme Event game. The Extreme Event game is an interactive role-playing game designed to teach people about building community disaster resilience. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is show a short video that kind of intros the game. There's just some music playing in it, so the audio isn't important here. So this is some people playing the Earthquake version. There's 3 different ways you can get the game, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. And we've updated some of these numbers. We have to update the video about all the people who have played the game. And then a few years ago, we got the International Serious Play Award. So... All right, so like I said, I am from the National Academy of Sciences, and if you're familiar with us, you might be familiar with the 2012 report, Disaster Resilience and National Imperative. When this report came out, it was very well received, not just by the emergency management community, but there were a lot of other stakeholders that were really interested in this idea of resilience and how to build it at a community level and how to communicate this to folks. As you may guess, most people in the general public aren't reading National Academy of Sciences reports. So what we decided to do is to take a lot of the information and recommendations from this report and to turn it into an interactive role-playing game that would help people kind of understand this basic concept of resilience and emergency management. So we took that source material from the consensus report through a 5 rounds of iterative development and testing with FEMA Corps and a couple other different audiences. We came out with our final product, the first version of our final product in 2013, which was the hurricane version of the game. So the game involves anywhere from 12 to 48 players. You can scale it up if you'd like as well. It only takes about an hour, which is great, so it doesn't take up a lot of time if you wanted to do the exercise. It was created with ages 14 and up in mind, so high school students, but we've used it with students as young as 5th grade all the way up to professional emergency managers, and it works in a lot of different contexts with a lot of different types of audiences. We have 3 different disaster scenarios: hurricane, flood, and earthquake. The gameplay runs pretty much the same in all of them. It's just the disaster that's different. And then there are 3 different ways you can play the game. You can either download all the materials for free from our website, do everything yourself. You can borrow a set of materials from us for just the cost of shipping, or you can have myself and my colleague Nell come out to you and do it for your group. So the great thing about the game, it's not solely a digital game. It has a digital component, but there are printed materials, sound effects, and slideshows as well. So you can play it using devices like the iPads here in this image, but you are not required to use those to play the game, which helps with people being able to access it. If they don't have access to 7 iPads or 7 laptops, they can still use the game. So the 2 main general learning outcomes of the game that were defined is critical thinking and civic literacy. It's also a great way to learn communication skills, team building, and it works independent to your prior level of knowledge about the idea of emergency management and resilience. So that's kind of what I was talking about before, how it was designed for 14 and up, but younger students do great, and people who do this in their everyday lives, like a lot of you folks here, it works well as well. So the game came out, like I said, in 2013. That's before I started working with the organization. So unfortunately, they weren't doing a lot of tracking of metrics back then. So since then, I have tried to change that. So since March of 2016, we've had more than 3,000 participants. Now that's only participants that we know of, because one of the things they also weren't doing was tracking the downloads of the materials from the website, which we are now doing, so we can hopefully keep better track of that in the future. But it's taken place in 40 different cities, 6 different countries, and on 4 continents, asterisk, that we know of. So again, as I said, it's got a lot of variety of audiences and uses, community groups, students, professional emergency managers, CERT groups, and other volunteer organizations. And it works as an icebreaker, team building activity, as kind of a lead-in to a potentially longer and not as much fun conversation about resilience and disaster management. And this is just some examples of the groups that we've worked with before. So we're based in Washington, D.C. So one of the groups we've worked with on multiple occasions now is the D.C. Southwest Neighborhood Assembly. So this is a neighborhood association in D.C. In the Southwest neighborhood that is really prone to flooding. So we did the flooding scenario with them the first time. The neighborhood association has an emergency preparedness task force, so that's the meeting that we were at to do the activity. So we had residents of the neighborhood, there was AmeriCorps volunteers there, we had some DC officials too, even the DC floodplain manager showed up, which was great because he obviously had a lot of insight into the topic. We have now twice facilitated the game for the George Washington University Freshman Day of Service. So every year in September, one of the first service days at the university is Freshman Day of Service to engage all of their incoming freshman class. So we did it for last year for the class of 2021 and this year for the class of 2022. So most students who are engaging in other projects on this day are going places and helping doing cleanups and painting and things like that. But what we do is we show them the game materials, we show them how to play the game, and we encourage them to then take it out into the different communities that they exist in, whether it be other university groups, if they're associated with their religious organizations, so they can then take the game out into their communities and be a facilitator as well. Last year we were at the Association of Science and Technology Centers conference, so a lot of museums and science centers are obviously trying to figure out how to communicate topics like climate change and sea level rise to their audiences. And we worked specifically with the Science Museum of Virginia, which is based in Richmond. They had been using the game in a series of public programming because they had a grant from NOAA to do programming specifically around climate change, and Richmond is excuse me, another location that is very prone to flooding. We also worked with the LA Unified School District's emergency management staff. We ran three rounds of the same scenario. We did earthquake out there, obviously. And they not only had the school district emergency management staff, but we had LA city and county officials and even some folks from the state emergency management office there to play the game. So they're planning on using it not only with their staff, but they're actually thinking about creating kind of a offshoot version specifically to train the different districts of the schools in the LA Unified District, because I'm sure some of you are familiar, LA Unified School District I think is the second largest school district in the country after New York City, and they are spread out over so many different locations, and they're not only worried about earthquakes, but they have to shut down when there's police activity and a variety of other things. So they were hoping to use this game to kind of practice their communication skills and working across the different sectors, even within their own unit. And probably the coolest place that we've gotten to travel so far is to Seoul, South Korea. We were working with the Korean Red Cross and the Asia Pacific Disaster Resilience Center. They had been kicking off their Resilience Innovation Initiative, and part of that is trying to use games and virtual reality and other things to engage people in resilience. So we've also played the earthquake version of the game there with participants from 10 different countries, and they have translated the earthquake game materials into Korean and are using it more in Korea with other groups that they work with as well, so that's really great. That's all that I have. So I encourage you, if anyone is interested in learning more, please come up and chat with me, or you can send me or Nell an email. You can check out the website at extreme-event.org, and you can find more information, more videos, and all the game materials to download if you would like. Thank you all so much.